All right, the witness laying the ground rules for the committee that normally does just that. And what Christine Blasey Ford wants is a chance to appear with the committee. She's open to it. But again, you've heard some of her demands that she doesn't want to go first. She wants to make sure that the judge go first. And then after Kavanaugh speaks, then she's coming up. But there's got to be enough time before that even happens. They can never be in the same room at the same time. And lawyers can't question her. It has to be the senators themselves, most of whom are lawyers, by the way. But it is an unusual long list of demands here. The former Justice Department Attorney John Yoo, who also clerked for Clarence Thomas. John, how many of these you suspect will be granted?
Neil, another thing was general counsel of the Senate Judiciary Committee, where we worked on cases like this. A lot of these judicial nominations raise background issues. I don't expect that the committee will agree to any of this. First,
well, if they don't agree to any of it, then she presumably won't talk, right? I can't see how she would not talk.
Well, I think her demands are unreasonable. For example, going first. In any legal process, now this is not a criminal trial, this is the Senate carrying out its advice and consent function, but in any legal process that's fair in the United States, whether it's a criminal trial, civil trial, whatever, even administrative hearings, the person who alleges something goes first.
Is that what happened with Anita Hill? I mean, because I thought it was the other way around.
No, because how can Kavanaugh testify to something that he doesn't know?
No, I fully agree with you. Whether you trust one or the other, she is making the accusations. So let her make the accusations and then see how the judge responds to them.
Yes, it's not some kind of Soviet-style show trial where Kavanaugh has to get up and prove his innocence before charges that he doesn't know what they are. The second point that you mentioned, no lawyers can do it, only senators. This is not normal Senate process. I was a Senate staffer on that very committee. Committee staffers took evidence, they conduct interviews, and at times they would even lead the questioning for the committee during open public hearings. I think you especially need to do that here because there are difficult questions that we ask any accuser and accused in any sexual misconduct claim in courtrooms all around the world today, right now. Senators who are politically elected are going to be uncomfortable asking those questions. And so I think it's better to have committee staff for both Republicans and Democrats ask those questions of Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, because they're going to be uncomfortable questions asked of him, too.
You know, I think part of the thinking might be, if I'm just looking at the legal strategy that might be involved here, is that, no, we want this, all white men series of questions from a guard that doesn't really understand women and their issues and all, and they look out to lunch. And I can understand the method to that, but it is what it is. I mean, they are the senators on that panel, as are some of the other senators who would equally be questioning her, but most of them are lawyers anyway.
I think there's actually a contradiction in what you're hearing from some of Dr. Ford's supporters or Judge Kavanaugh's critics, which is men who are on the Judiciary Committee don't understand what's going on. They can't be sensitive and fair to Dr. Ford. I can see that. But then why don't they allow the Judiciary Committee to bring on board or use a staffer already who is a woman who has a background in sexual assault cases? I think that would be a perfect resulution of this contradiction.
Unless they don't really want that. They want to make that glaring point that these are all white men making setting up these questions in the line of questioning, and they want the world to see that.
The only problem with that political objective, as you're suggesting, is that it will obscure the truth, because that is what we have found in our legal system is the best way to uncover the truth, is to put people under oath, have them testify, and have them subject to questioning and cross-examination. That's a system we use in every other legal proceeding we have in we should be proud of our just American legal system. I don't see why those procedures wouldn't work here, too.
But, John, when push comes to shove, as was the case with Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas, people had their firm view on Anita Hill. She was right. Others said, no, Clarence Thomas was maligned. And never the two intersected. And he ultimately got approved as a Supreme Court justice. And I'm wondering whether we're looking potentially at the same thing here. There's no way to discern who's telling the truth here. There are going to be doubters throughout, and this will never be settled.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, there's a great question that you're asking, is that this is not a criminal trial.
Right.
This is the Senate deciding its constitutional duty to give advice and consent to a president's nominee. And the Federalist Papers, the framers of our Constitution said the Senate's job is to make sure there are no unfit characters who are getting on the bench. As you say, the only way to do that here is for the senators to look Judge Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford in the eye as they testify, and they have to decide who do they think is telling the truth. It seems like a hard thing, but I tell you, we put people on death row with that same kind of job because juries have to look witnesses in the eye and decide who's telling the truth. Often there's a lack of forensic or physical evidence, as in here.
Right.
We ask people to make those most weighty of decisions of life and death based on a similar job. So I think we shouldn't be surprised that senators have to. People will always disagree, but that is the nature of this kind of claim because it's 35 years old. There's no other way to corroborate who's telling the truth.
Well put. John, I'm not bad for a fancy schmancy lawyer. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, my friend, and always your expertise.
Thanks,
John Yoo, the former Justice Department attorney, former clerk to Justice Thomas, so much more.